2211 The solution to Xiao Hua's issue.
I understand the situation.
Xiao Zongming muttered after a moment of silence.
The balance between the two souls within her is broken, and they're currently clashing with each other, trying to consume each other. What?
Yuan exclaimed in shock after hearing the last few words in Xiao Zongming's sentence.
Their souls are trying to consume each other. This is the first time I'm hearing this. I was told they were only fighting for control of the body.
If he'd known it was this serious, he would have taken this matter much more seriously and visited the primordial realm much sooner.
Perhaps it might have been the case initially, but from what I'm seeing right now, that is no longer the case.
Xiao Zongming looked at Yuan and asked.
How much do you know about our Azura clan's powers?
Yuan closed his eyes to ponder.
The violent nebula physique, right? Come to think of it, I don't actually know much about it, other than the fact that it makes you immune to physical attacks.
Xiao Zongming nodded and explained.
That's normal, since we didn't tell you about it. Of course, it's not like we were trying to hide it from you. Honestly, even we didn't know much about our own physiques in the past. However, as we continue to study and experiment with it, we've grown to understand our physique much better now. Anyway, our physique's true power lies in reincarnation. What?
Yuan's eyes widened in shock.
Reincarnation.
Xiao Zongming repeated calmly.
But it comes with strict limitations and conditions that we still don't fully understand, even now. And so far, only one member of our family has ever experienced it. You mean Xiao Hua? Yes, and she has experienced reincarnation more than once. How does it work?
Yuan asked.
Well, we call it reincarnation, but it technically isn't true reincarnation.
Xiao Zongming explained.
She doesn't return to the cycle to await rebirth like others do. Instead, she's more like a phoenix, revived after death, her soul never truly departing. Then how does she return? After her death, her soul will wander the world until it finds a suitable vessel, usually before they are born. Once the conditions are fulfilled, she would take over that body, hence two souls in one body, and depending on the two souls' compatibility, they will either exist in harmony or they fight for control.
Yuan sighed.
But there's something that I don't understand.
He then said.
Xiao Hua's soul should be incomparably stronger, so why does it seem like she's struggling? It's not that she's struggling. If she truly wanted to consume the other soul, it wouldn't take any effort. However, doing so could cause irreparable harm to the body. Most importantly, since she is aware that it isn't her true body, she's trying her best to hold back. So, she's actually trying to stop herself from consuming the other soul right now.
Xiao Zongming nodded.
Yes. Unfortunately, her soul is so powerful that once the process begins, she must constantly suppress herself. If she falters even for a moment, the other soul will be devoured. As for the other soul, she's subconsciously trying to fight back, even though it's doing more harm than good. How often does this happen? And is there a solution to it?
Yuan then asked. Xiao Zongming closed his eyes and sighed.
This is the second time it's happened, and she's reincarnated over a dozen times. There are only two ways we can fix this. Either Xiao Hua's soul consumes the other and takes permanent control of the body, or we remove Xiao Hua's soul and place her into a different vessel.
After a moment of silence, Yuan asked.
What did you do the last time? Xiao Hua consumed the other's soul, since that was the only option we realistically had. Another question. Her personality? Who have I been talking to this entire time? Is it Xiao Hua, or the other soul, or do they swap from time to time?
Xiao Hua's personality had remained largely consistent throughout their time together, aside from the moment of her awakening. From that, Yuan deduced that only one soul had been in control until the awakening, likely the body's original soul. Still, he needed confirmation.
For her new vessel to be compatible, the soul must closely resemble Xiao Hua's, particularly in personality.
Xiao Zongming explained.
To maintain harmony, Xiao Hua must also share her memories with the vessel's original soul. So even though two souls inhabit one body, they essentially become a single being. In simpler terms, her persona is a fusion of both. Even if the souls were separated, they wouldn't differ much from each other.
Hearing this, Yuan finally understood why Xiao Hua could seem like an innocent little girl at times, yet mature and cruel at others.
That said,
Xiao Zongming continued.
This only holds true when the souls remain in harmony. The fact that they're now in conflict means one of them has changed, so drastically that they're no longer compatible. So what should we do, my lord?
Without hesitation, Yuan responded.
Naturally, we're going to separate them. Then we will need to find another vessel for Xiao Hua. Does it have to contain another soul?
Yuan then asked.
That condition is only for when she reincarnates. Since we're simply relocating her soul, a soulless vessel will work just fine.
Though it might sound complex or unnatural, The process was akin to that of a god ascension cultivator whose physical body had been destroyed and required a new vessel.
Do you happen to have an empty vessel lying around, or enough materials to create one?
Yuan asked. Xiao Zhangming shook his head.
Unfortunately, we're still in the primordial realm, so things like creating a new vessel are simply unfeasible, as we need more than just spiritual energy. Are you telling me that I have to leave the primordial realm to obtain a new vessel for her? Even if I can do that, I don't think we'll have enough time for that.
Yuan rubbed his eyes in a stressful manner. However, before Xiao Zhangming could respond, Feng Yuxiang's voice resounded.
Young master, if I may, we might already have enough resources to craft Xiaohua a new vessel if we consider the treasures we already own, mostly mine.
2212 The solution to Xiaohua's issue, too. Is that true? We have enough resources to craft Xiaohua a new vessel? Yuan asked for confirmation just in case he misheard. Honestly, it depends on how complicated you want the vessel to be, but for a temporary vessel, we should have enough, said Feng Yuxiang. Like treasures, a vessel can be stronger or weaker depending on the resources used to create it. What about your soul weapon? The one that used to be occupied by Ji Ran, Yuning suddenly reminded Yuan about the baneful abyss. We could use it as a vessel until we craft her a proper one. Hearing Yuning's words, Yuan asked Xiao Zhangming.
I have a soul weapon without any occupants right now. Can I put her soul inside until we finish her new vessel? I've used it to house the soul of a god ascension cultivator before without any issue.
Xiao Zhangming pondered for a moment before responding.
We've never tried putting her soul in a soul weapon before, but we have tried to temporarily contain her soul in a treasure with a similar function before. The result? She subconsciously broke out of the treasure to find a new and more natural vessel, damaging her soul slightly in the process. Unlike normal people, Xiaohua cannot maintain consciousness as a soul, and she will instinctively seek out a proper one, likely a side effect of her powers. Anyway, to properly answer your question, it might work for some time, but it's risky, and if you don't find her a new vessel in time, she'll try to break out of the soul weapon and hurt herself in the process.
After a moment of silence, Yuan asked.
How long does it take to craft a new vessel? I might have the resources with me. I will have to see the resources first.
He quickly replied.
Feng, show him the materials we have.
Feng Yuxiang emerged from his dantian and immediately started looking through her spatial ring.
A phoenix, huh? The last time you came here, you also had a phoenix with you.
Xiao Zhangming remarked as he stared at Feng Yuxiang.
This is Feng Yuxiang. There are a few more resting within my dantian right now.
Lan Yingying and Yingzi also came out the next moment, revealing themselves. Xiao Zhangming stared at Lan Yingying for a brief moment before turning to look at Yingzi.
It's not exactly the same, but it's similar.
He mumbled a moment later.
Similar? To whom?
Yuan asked out of curiosity. Xiao Zhangming responded as his gaze returned to Lan Yingying.
She reminds me of that white-haired divine serpent. As for this one, what were they called again? They have the ability to manipulate shadows. Shadow Dweller.
Xiao Meilin answered for him.
Did I bring all of the 9 divine supremes with me the last time I visited?
Yuan asked with a raised eyebrow. Xiao Zhangming nodded.
Yes, and you claimed that you lot were on the way to confront gods. How did that turn out? How much do you know about the outer gods?
Yuan then asked.
I am aware of their existence, but that's about it. I don't know anything about their purpose or prowess. You left without explaining much, if anything, after all. Is that so? Well, about that fight.
Yuan explained everything that happened after their clash with the outer gods, how they split the divine heaven into 9 different realms and earth, as well as the existence of cultivation online. Xiao Zhangming listened with intrigue.
9 heavens and cultivation online, huh? The world sure has changed a lot since the primordial era, but I guess that's only to be expected. How long do you think it's been since you were thrown into this world?
Yuan smiled. After a brief pause, he asked.
Say, why did you decide to remain inside the primordial realm? I'm sure I could have taken your entire family out of this place the last time I visited. The fact you're still here must mean that you decided to stay here instead, right?
Xiao Zhangming nodded.
That's right. After all, I had something to do here. You mean the spirit tree?
Yuan asked.
Does it have to grow in the primordial realm? Why can't you cultivate it elsewhere? Because such a thing can only grow in this kind of environment.
Xiao Zhangming calmly replied.
A place utterly devoid of spiritual energy. Quite the paradox, isn't it? The spirit tree generates spiritual energy, yet it cannot survive within it. It also needs spiritual energy to grow, but it must be force-fed by sacrificing one's cultivation, like a hatchling unable to feed itself. I should have probably asked this earlier, but what even is the spirit tree? And why did I ask you to grow it?
Yuan then questioned.
That.
Xiao Cangming's expression suddenly turned serious, making Yuan swallow nervously.
I don't know.
Xiao Cangming responded in a serious tone.
What?
Yuan's eyes widened with shock at his response.
My lord, if I may be blunt for a moment, you're absolutely terrible at explaining things. In fact, most of the time you don't explain anything at all and just give the bare minimum of instructions.
Xiao Cangming rubbed his eyes and continued.
Do you know what you told me when you handed me the spirit tree? Word for word, you said, nurture this to the best of your ability. I'll return when it matures.
Xiao Meilin couldn't help but chuckle at his words.
That being said, I'm also at fault for not demanding more details. That's...
Yuan was left speechless.
Maybe I'll remember once I see the spirit tree for myself later,
he said after a moment of silence. Xiao Cangming let out a faint sigh.
Of course, the spirit tree isn't the only reason I chose to remain here. After the war, I needed time to gather my thoughts and to atone for my failures, both as a leader and as a husband.
Yuan wasn't sure how to respond, so he remained silent. Suddenly, Feng Yuxiang's voice resounded.
Young master, it's done. I have gathered all of the resources that can be used to create a vessel. We'll continue this later.
Yuan said to Xiao Cangming before turning toward the table, where more than a dozen treasures lay neatly arranged. 2213 Li Zhenwu.
Well, what do you think?
Feng Yuxiang asked as she showcased her treasures with a prideful air around her. Xiao Kangmang took a moment to look over the treasures before responding with a surprised expression.
I'll be honest with you. I can't identify even half of the treasures here, but judging from their intense aura, I'm sure they're all priceless treasures, beyond anything I anticipated. If we have this quality of treasure, we can definitely make a top-grade vessel. In that case, allow me to introduce them to you.
Feng Yuxiang said as she began identifying the treasures and explaining their uses.
This right here is the exalted divine crystal, a treasure used to store a massive amount of spiritual energy. It can be used to create the Dantian. The item right next to it is the 9-flame heart pill, which can be used to create the heart. Not only will it give her vessel improved resistance to fire, but it will strengthen any fire element techniques. Next is the primordial essence root, which will be used for her spiritual veins and give her superior cultivation speed.
Feng Yuxiang pointed at a bottle of red liquid and continued.
This is phoenix blood, mine to be precise. However, we will need more blood, preferably human blood from the same family. I can get my blood.
Xiao Meilin raised her hand. Feng Yuxiang nodded and continued explaining the treasures.
This is the heavenly marrow essence. It's usually used for crafting treasures, but it can also be used to forge bones. These are the main ingredients for her vessel. The rest are mainly used to enhance their effects, but I will still explain them.
A few minutes later, Feng Yuxiang finished. Not just Xiao Meilin, but even Xiao Cangming was left speechless by Feng Yuxiang's resources.
Are you sure we can use such precious ingredients? Honestly, even I would want to move my soul into a vessel made with these ingredients,
said Xiao Cangming. Feng Yuxiang looked at Yuan and said.
Originally, I planned on using them to strengthen the young master.
Yuan smiled and said.
Just your thoughts are enough. Moreover, at my current level, these treasures will have minimal effect, so it's better to use them for Xiaohua. Feng Yuxiang, right? Aye. The Azura clan will never forget this debt.
Xiao Cangming said with his head slightly lowered. Feng Yuxiang rubbed her nose and responded in a stiff tone.
Honestly, I'm only doing this for the young master, so you don't owe me anything. It doesn't change the fact that you're the reason Xiaohua will have a new vessel. So, is this enough to craft her vessel? If so, how long do you think it'll take?
Yuan asked a moment later. Xiao Cangming nodded and replied.
This is more than enough. In fact, we can make a vessel with only half of it. The rest is just a bonus. As for how long it will take, I haven't attempted to craft a vessel since the primordial era, so it might take me a couple of weeks just to be safe. I don't want to mess up these precious ingredients, after all. All right, I'll leave it in your hands then.
Yuan placed Xiaohua back inside his Dantian shortly after.
I'll need a few days to prepare myself. Make yourself at home until then.
Xiao Cangming left to prepare a moment later. Meanwhile, Xiao Meiling brought Yuan to Mu Xuelian, who was waiting in the guest room. However, when they arrived, Mu Xuelian was not alone, and there was another beautiful woman in the room with her. The two were quietly sharing tea, but the moment Yuan saw the woman's face, his body went rigid, his eyes widening in utter shock and disbelief.
Feijin,
Yuan muttered. The beautiful woman greatly resembled Xiao Cangming's dead wife, the one Tian Xian had personally killed in the past. The resemblance was so uncanny that he wouldn't be surprised if this woman were actually Fei Zhen'er. Seeing Yuan, the woman stood up and gracefully bowed to him.
You must be Master Tian. I have heard a lot about you from my husband. I am Li Jinwu, and it's an honor to finally meet you.
Yuan turned to look at Xiao Meilin, who was standing right behind him and chuckling at his reaction.
I knew you'd be surprised when you see her. The resemblance is uncanny, right?
She remarked. Li Jinwu smiled and said,
I was told that I greatly resemble my husband's late wife, but I never really took it to heart. However, seeing your reaction, I cannot help but wonder just how much I resemble her now.
Yuan swallowed nervously and replied.
You're a splitting image of her. If you claim to be Fei Zhen'er, I wouldn't have doubted you in the slightest. If you don't mind me asking, are you busy right now?
Li Jinwu suddenly asked.
Me? No, I'm not busy.
Li Jinwu clasped her hands together at his words and spoke with an excited smile.
In that case, can you tell me some stories about my husband? This might sound weird, but he only ever talks about you, so it's not an exaggeration to say that I know you better than my own husband. I don't mind, but wouldn't it be better if you just asked him?
Li Jinwu shook her head and sighed.
I have tried, but the topic always ends up shifting to you. All right, I'll tell you everything I know about Saming.
Yuan nodded.
Thank you. Let me grab some more tea first.
Once Li Jinwu left the room, Xiao Meilin looked at Yuan and said with a smile.
Try not to kill her this time, okay?
Yuan rubbed his eyes and sighed.
I know you're joking, but...
Xiao Meilin chuckled for a bit before suddenly turning serious.
Master, she doesn't know how my late mother died. How you killed her, so try not to mention that. All right.
Yuan nodded with a serious face. 2214 Li Jinwu, 2. Once Li Jinwu returned to the room with more tea leaves, Yuan began telling her stories of his adventures with Xiao Cangming. Mu Xuelian stayed in the room to listen since she had nothing else better to do. Xiao Meilin also decided to stay for the nostalgia. Meanwhile, Xiao Cangming began preparing to forge Xiao Hua's new vessel, running countless simulations within his mind. Just as Tian Qiyuan could refine his crafting skills through mental training alone, true masters possessed the ability to temper their skills entirely within the realm of thought. Naturally, this was no simple feat, and it placed immense strain on the mind and demanded extraordinary soul and mental strength. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, and Xiao Cangming emerged from his room with a confident look on his face. After doing hundreds of simulations within his head, he was now prepared to create Xiao Hua's vessel for real.
Where's the Lord?
Xiao Cangming asked Xiao Chen, who had been waiting outside for him to finish.
He's currently with mother and senior sister.
Xiao Chen calmly responded.
Bring me to him.
Xiao Chen nodded and, without a word, led Xiao Cangming to the guest room. Even before they reached the room, Xiao Cangming could hear Li Jinwu's gentle laugh echoing in the halls. When they arrived, Xiao Cangming walked through the already open door and said,
I should have introduced you to my wife first before I went into seclusion. I apologize.
Yuan looked at him and casually dismissively waved his hand.
It's fine. I was just telling her about our adventures in the past. After all, you never talk about yourself.
Li Jinwu said as she sipped on her tea.
I don't.
Xiao Cangming replied with raised eyebrows.
You would try, but you always end up talking more about Master Tian here.
Xiao Cangming opened his mouth but closed it when he realized she was right.
Anyway, I am ready to start crafting Xiao Hua's new vessel. Do you want to watch, my lord?
Yuan nodded.
You're making a new vessel for Xiao Hua? This is the first time I am hearing this.
Li Jinwu spoke with a surprised face.
I'll explain on the way,
said Xiao Meilin. Sometime later, they all gathered in another room, one that was fortified with many powerful formations. The room also had a strong medicinal scent, and a cauldron sat in the middle of the room.
The alchemists mainly use this place for their alchemy,
Xiao Cangming said.
Also, we will need an alchemist for this, so...
Yuan followed Xiao Cangming's gaze to Li Jinwu and asked.
You're an alchemist?
She nodded.
Yes. In fact, I was once the leader of the Inferno Alchemists. I handed that spot to the current leader after marrying into the Azura clan. Is that so?
Yuan wondered if Li Jinwu's connection to the Inferno Alchemists was the true reason behind their collaboration with the Azura clan. Xiao Cangming retrieved the ingredients for Xiao Hua's vessel and placed them beside the cauldron.
Here are the ingredients we will be using,
Xiao Cangming said to her. Li Jinwu approached the ingredients with a look of shock on her face.
I don't even recognize them,
she responded in a stiff tone.
I'll explain them to you now,
Xiao Cangming said before repeating what Feng Yuxiang told him. A few minutes later, Li Jinwu sighed.
You know, I would have appreciated a bit of warning about this. At least enough time to prepare. Although I have crafted vessels before, they're all low quality, made from trash ingredients. This is like suddenly handing a craftsman who has only used to low-quality material the best materials in the world and telling them to create a masterpiece. Sorry, but I forgot. It's also been a while since I crafted a vessel, so I immediately went into seclusion. If you need some time to practice, we can wait for you. I will need a few days to prepare the ingredients. Anyway, practice with what ingredients? Even if you give me a decade to practice with trash ingredients, it won't help me with these priceless ingredients. Mental training won't help either, since I have never handled ingredients even close to the ones before me right now. You're the best alchemist in the primordial realm, so I'm sure you'll be fine. In here, perhaps, but I doubt I will be able to compare to even ordinary alchemists in the outside world. Don't sell yourself short now. Moreover, you'll only be working as my assistant this time, as I will be doing most of the work. I just need you to assist me, because my cultivation has declined back to the first level of God Ascension,
said Xiao Zhangming.
If I am only working as your assistant, guess that's much more manageable.
She nodded. During their whole conversation, Li Jinwu's gaze never left the ingredients, almost as if she were mesmerized by them. Suddenly, she turned to Yuan and asked,
Are ingredients like these abundant in the world outside of the primordial realm? No.
Yuan calmly shook his head.
Even in the 9 heavens, such ingredients are considered a rarity, priceless, even. And you're willing to use them to craft a vessel for Xiaohua. You're very generous,
she said with a warm smile. Yuan shook his head.
There is no ingredient or material in this world that is more valuable than Xiaohua. Anyway, even though I'll only be working as an assistant, I need to study these ingredients before we begin. Give me a few days,
Li Jinwu said.
All right, Master, since we still have some time, why don't you spar with me? I've been itching to exchange swords with you for a while now.
Yuan responded with a stiff smile.
Didn't we spar with each other right before coming here? That doesn't count,
she quickly said.
Why don't you take him to the spirit tree instead?
Xiao Zhangming suddenly said.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let's see the spirit tree first. If we have time afterward, I'll spar with you,
said Yuan.
Fine. I'll take you to the spirit tree.
Xiao Meilin nodded. 2215 Sarek. Sometime later, Xiao Meilin brought Yuan to the spirit tree, which was located only a few miles away from the Azura clan's residence. Shortly after they left the residence, Mu Xuelian, who followed them, spoke.
Yuan, Lord Shiva has something to tell you. HM, what is it?
Yuan turned to look at her.
She said that man doesn't have long to live. What?
Yuan raised an eyebrow.
That first-level God Ascension cultivator we were just with, Zhangming? What is her reason for saying such a thing?
Yuan immediately stopped moving and glared at her with a serious frown. Mu Xuelian closed her eyes and, after a moment of silence, responded in a different tone.
That man has been afflicted with a particular technique by a certain eternal,
said Shiva, who just took control of Mu Xuelian's body.
You mean his illness? So an eternal was involved, after all?
Yuan sighed.
What are you talking about?
Xiao Meilin asked. Yuan explained calmly.
The beings we know as outer gods refer to themselves as eternals, and your father's illness was caused by one of them. And how does she know that?
Xiao Meilin glared at Mu Xuelian with a suspicious face.
Long story short, there's an eternal living within her.
Xiao Meilin's eyes narrowed at the revelation.
I knew there was something off about her the moment I saw her,
she muttered.
Now I understand why. Master, why are you traveling with someone like that? Aren't you enemies with these outer gods?
He nodded.
Yes, but there are many of them out there, and I'm not at war with all of them. Is that so? Well, this is news to me,
said Xiao Meilin.
Anyway, what was that about father? He's going to die soon? Can you elaborate on that? He's managed to survive tens of millions of years with this illness, after all. That's because the technique used on him wasn't meant to kill him quickly,
Shiva said.
It was designed to inflict pain for as long as possible. Tens of millions of years may seem long to mortals, but to us eternals, it's nothing. In fact, I have taken naps far longer than that. Since you know what it is, do you know how to cure him?
Yuan then asked. Shiva calmly nodded.
Of course. It's actually very simple. I'm listening. You just need to absorb it. What?
Yuan raised an eyebrow.
Have you forgotten the essence of our powers already? The power of your physique. You mean I can just refine the illness into essence and absorb it, turning it into my power?
Yuan asked with a somewhat dumbfounded face. Shiva silently nodded.
In that case, let's return now,
Yuan said to Xiao Meilin.
What about the spirit tree? We're about to arrive. That can wait. Your father will be crafting Xiao Hua's vessel soon, and I don't want anything to go wrong when that happens.
Yuan didn't want to risk Xiao Zhangming's illness affecting him during the creation of Xiao Hua's vessel and decided to take care of it as soon as possible. Moreover, Xiao Zhangming's life was on the line.
If you say so.
Xiao Meilin didn't argue and immediately turned around. Sometime later, they returned to the room where Xiao Cangming and Li Zhenwu were.
You're back already? Did you forget something?
Xiao Cangming asked.
No. I came back because I learned about the cause of your illness and the method to cure it.
Said Yuan.
What?
Xiao Cangming stared at him with a bewildered face.
How did you acquire this knowledge in such a short time?
After all, they'd only been gone for a few minutes. Yuan looked at Mu Xuelian and explained.
Actually, there's an outer god dwelling within my friend here, and she was the one who told me about it.
That's. Xiao Cangming was left speechless. As far as he was aware, all outer gods were enemies. Seeing his reaction, Yuan quickly explained.
Just like humans, not every outer god is friendly with each other, and they even fight amongst themselves. In other words, not all of them are our enemies. I see. So what about my illness?
Mu Xuelian then spoke.
According to Lord Shiva, it's a technique used by the one known as Surik, meant to torment you with unbearable pain. Then what about the treatment? I just need to absorb it.
Yuan replied.
Didn't you try that already? That's different, since I treated it like a poison. What I'm going to do this time is entirely different. It sounds risky. How risky is it?
Xiao Cangming asked with a slight frown.
It shouldn't be too risky, right?
Yuan turned to look at Mu Xuelian.
Lord Shiva said it's not risky, but it will be very painful for you, the absorber, since you're essentially consuming the power of an eternal. You heard her. It's not risky.
Yuan said with a calm smile.
What do you plan on absorbing it?
Xiao Cangming then asked.
Right now? But we're about to start crafting Xiao Hua's vessel. That's exactly why we must do it now. I don't want anything to go wrong, and since there's a chance the illness might strike during the process, I want to deal with it before you start.
Xiao Cangming couldn't refute his reasoning. Since it was true that the illness could surface at unpredictable intervals, Yuan's concern was entirely justified.
All right, let's get this over with.
Xiao Cangming nodded. Hearing this, Yuan gestured for Xiao Cangming to take a seat before him. Once Xiao Cangming was seated, Yuan took his place behind him and rested both hands against his back. Yuan closed his eyes and started trying to sense the illness in Xiao Cangming's body. Li Zhenwu, who had been focused on the ingredients, paused and watched them in silence, a faint trace of worry flickering in her eyes. A few minutes later, once Yuan found the source of the illness, he said.
I'm going to start now.
Then, he started to refine its very essence. Shortly after Yuan started to absorb it, a loud and unfamiliar voice thundered inside his head.
Which bastard dares to covet this mighty Sarik's power?
Congratulations, you have finished listening to the current content.